I hope everyone keeps the comment section nice and in line with the movie's central theme for this one. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainly Movies. As part of my coverage of the 2023 Sundance Film Festival, today I'm going to be talking about the 2023 comedy drama You Hurt My Feelings, which will be released in theaters on May 26th. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. All my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons, my rating, and some tailored film recommendations, so be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all of that extra content. You Hurt My Feelings stars Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Tobias Menzies, and Michaela Watkins, and was directed by Nicole Holofcener. It tells the story of novelist Beth, who has to reassess herself and her relationship with her husband after discovering that he's been lying about liking her books. Drama is the most common film genre by far. Comedy is also way up there, but while comedy sometimes exists as just that single genre, it's comparatively rare to find a movie that's just a drama. You're much more likely to see dramas that are genre mashups. Romantic dramas, crime dramas, historical dramas, courtroom dramas. No genre is easy to craft, but under the drama umbrella, one of the most difficult combinations to really nail is the comedy drama. There are two genres that can certainly go together well, but finding the right balance is the key to crafting a comedy drama rather than just a comedy with some dramatic moments. When it comes to many comedic films that focus on relationships, there's often a sense of cinematic unbelievability, that the characters or the situation that they find themselves in are things that could only happen in a movie. But You Hurt My Feelings is a slight film that manages to stay uniquely grounded in both its comedy and drama. It focuses on a relationship and problems that may seem like trivialities or privileged whining at first, but this is a film whose thematic sum is greater than its individual parts. You Hurt My Feelings boasts a very simple premise and story. This is not a movie where a lot happens. It has a clear story, so it's not a meandering, plotless film either, but this isn't the movie to go to if you're in the mood for an exciting story. Instead, this is a movie that explores surprisingly relatable aspects of interpersonal relationships. At its core, You Hurt My Feelings is a movie about lies. That's certainly a common topic in dramas, ranging from crime to infidelity, but the lies at the heart of this movie aren't big and dramatic. Instead, this film focuses on the little lies, the so-called white lies that aren't said out of malice or intentional deception, but rather out of intended protection and thoughtfulness. These types of lies pop up in many forms in this film, and in our own lives, but the primary variety that become the focus of this movie is the supportive, encouraging lie, told to a loved one after they ask for an opinion on a creative endeavor they're passionate about. This type of lie might seem harmless enough, maybe even a good thing, but is it really? This movie explores that question by weaving through the buildup of such lies and toxic positivity in an otherwise strong and loving marriage. The central couple are the focus here, but the film also extends the exploration of the impact of these types of lies to a parent-child relationship a bit too. You Hurt My Feelings is not a movie that seeks to provide a definitive answer or opinion on the topic of white lies, but rather one that portrays a simple scenario for us, as the audience, to relatably observe and be thought-provoked by. Words matter, more to some people than others, but the opinion of others, especially those we love, stick with us. But what's the right approach in this scenario? To provide unconditionally positive and encouraging support, or to be honest at the risk of potential unintentional discouragement? It can be tough to find the right balance between honesty and criticism, especially when dealing with a loved one who's passionate about something. But both white lies and critical honesty can have lasting repercussions, not only on a relationship, but also on self-confidence and someone's perception of themselves or their work. I realize that this all sounds a bit heavy and existential, and it probably could have been in the hands of another writer-director, but the comedic presentation of this film manages to keep it feeling light and breezy, despite the heavier themes. This is a comedy drama, after all, and not just a comedy with dramatic moments. As such, this isn't a punchline-filled, laugh-out-loud kind of movie, but rather one with a sharply written comedic script. It's a film where the situational humor and oddities of everyday life are allowed to shine through. It does have some intentional jokes, mostly written as quick one-liners and memorable singers, but much of the humor comes from interactions between people, and the reactions that the characters, mostly Julia Louis-Dreyfus's Beth, have. The script itself is quite funny, but it's the delivery and impeccable comedic timing that really make it work. The believable chemistry, the immensely funny awkward silences and comedic pauses in the middle of conversations. The whole cast is strong, but Julia Louis-Dreyfus is the standout here. We've known for decades how good she is with situational comedy, and this is exactly the type of role and film that's suited to her style. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. Pro number 1 is the script. Technically, the script and writing encompass all of my pros for this film, but I specifically want to talk about the writing style and themes here. There's something very relatable and realistic about the premise and story here. Even though it focuses on a very specific scenario, a writer seeking her husband's support and approval for her work, and has some very specific things that you just know were drawn directly from somebody's life, it manages to touch on a concern that I think most people have faced: telling or hearing a supportive white lie. Although it doesn't offer any definitive answers, it does offer some thought and conversation-provoking questions and ideas. The second pro is the comedy. Like I mentioned, this is something that, at least in part, could also fall under the umbrella of the script, but I wanted to highlight it as its own separate thing in the pros. This movie definitely balances its drama and comedy, so it's not a laugh-out-loud or joke-a-minute type of film, but it is full of great lines, reactions, and situational humor. This isn't a particularly plot-heavy film, so much of the story and associated humor comes from the character interactions and conversations. Everything that's said feels relatable and realistic, but there's just something so entertaining about the recognizable conversations. The writing is obviously a big part of that, but without the right delivery, much of that humor could have very easily fallen flat. But good chemistry among the actors, and especially a great performance by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, keep this funnier than expected. On the con side, the biggest issue is the overabundance of B plot lines. This film is primarily about a married couple, Beth and Don, but there are a number of other side characters, including their son and Beth's sister, mother, and brother-in-law. All of the supporting characters have some role in the story, either for comedy or to act as illustrations of the white lie issue, but each of these characters, and others, also have their own small plot lines going on. This isn't really a huge problem or anything, because it is nice to have even small characters feel fleshed out and like they have lives beyond the plot, but when B-plots for these characters get introduced and then randomly dropped, it does get a little frustrating. In a typical movie with a lot of moving parts and a more involved plot, it's easier to ignore these kinds of minor character or unresolved plot lines, but when character relationships and issues are the focus of the film, it's tougher not to notice. Before I give you my rating and recommendations, I want to remind you that if you're interested in buying You Hurt My Feelings, or any of the other films I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you'd use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. I'm gonna give You Hurt My Feelings 3.5 out of 5 paws. It's a slight film, and the issue at the center of the story may seem trivial to many, but this is a funny, tightly written comedy drama that tackles relatable aspects of close relationships. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is perfectly suited for her role in this film. I would recommend You Hurt My Feelings to people who like dialogue-based comedy dramas. The plot here is very simple, so if you're looking for a movie where a lot happens, you'll probably want to find another film. But if you want a breezy and thoughtful comedy with slightly matured 90s rom-com sensibilities, this is one for you. If you liked You Hurt My Feelings, I would recommend Enough Said. This is another comedy drama written and directed by Nicole Holofcener, so there are a lot of inherent stylistic similarities to the script. But that's not all. This also stars Julia Louis-Dreyfus, so there's a similar delivery here too in this heavily dialogue-based romantic comedy drama, this time focusing on post-divorce relationships. If you want another Holofcener written story about a writer with a problem, you might want to check out Can You Ever Forgive Me? This is a much more plot-driven film, based on the real life and literary dealings of author Lee Israel. And if you're interested in a very dark comedy take on the build-up and effects of massive lies in a relationship, you should check out Force Majeure. Ironically, the American remake, Downhill, stars Julia Louis-Dreyfus, but I would still recommend the original over that one. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1, have you seen You Hurt My Feelings? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, what's your favorite movie about a lie? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get a discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information on this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe while you're at it to see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies, the way life should be.